Welcome back to the RinkMasters podcast. My name is Tyler Kroom, and I'm your host today. On the other side of the screen here is my co-host Noah.
Hello.
Today we are very pleased to announce and welcome Mark Lamb from the Prince George Cougars. He is the head coach and general manager. Heading into the question here, you won a Stanley Cup in '88 with the Oilers. You got to play with Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier. How was that?
Well, it's playing with great players is always special, and you can learn so much from them. I'll just want to. It was I was there in '88, but in 1990 is the one that I played in and won a Stanley Cup ring. But those two players are very special players. Obviously, Hall of Famers, got all kinds of records. Wayne Gretzky's kind of in his own category there. I didn't play with him very long, but got to know him and got to see how he did his everyday business and how good he was. It was, and not only those two guys, back then I was just at the end of a dynasty where, they had a lot of great players, and I was fortunate enough to be there, at those times to learn really how to win.
Yeah, so does learning how to win stuff with those guys, does that impact how you coach now? Has that experience kind of changed what you do?
Well, I think I think it certainly helps. Going through winning experiences really get your brain going in that direction, and you just don't automatically win. There's a lot that goes into winning. There's a lot of preparation. There's a lot of coaching. So those years were my early years as a player in pro. That give me all the guidance in moving forward, and a lot of the stuff that I learned back then is stuff I implement now as a coach and a general manager.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, what inspired you to become a coach and a general manager?
You know what? It goes back a lot of years. Even when I started playing junior at a very young age, at 16 years old, I always had the bug in me. I always talked to the coaches a lot. Back then, you didn't talk to them very much, but I tried to talk to them as much as I could. I wanted to learn all the time. So becoming a coach after I was done playing wasn't just something that I go, oh, I can't play anymore. I'm just going to coach. I thought about it a lot, and I put a lot of work into it, and it was something that I wanted to do after my playing days.
So you mentioned there that, back then you guys didn't talk to the coaches all that often. How much has that changed now, with the game? I mean, the game has progressed such a long way. How different is it now compared to back when you played junior?
Well, it's a lot different in that aspect. That's for sure. I think the communication, I think the way everything is run, I think that's just the way the world works now. The communication with the young kids, I think they're a lot more schooled in, if that's the right word, in dealing with people. There's a lot more interaction with the parents and the coaching staff now. I think it's a lot better. I think everyone gets on the same page. Back then you kind of just snuck around and were not heard. And usually when you did talk to the coach, it wasn't good news.
Right.
Yeah, so did that experience help prepare you for coaching in any way? Or even just through your playing career as a pro, did that really help shape the way that you coach?
I think it has. I've moved around a lot too, so I've had a lot of different coaches, and there isn't a coach that I didn't learn from. And like I said, I was lucky. I've had a lot of good coaches, and they were good people. So I don't have a coach where I go, I'm going to coach exactly like him. I got a bunch of not just coaches either, players and other coaches that you talk to, and you kind of coach to your own personality, to your own needs, and sometimes when you're lacking in one area, it's good to surround yourself with people in your organization that are very good in other areas.
Yeah.
So, oh,
No, go ahead, Tyler.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Thanks. Um, so, so you were assistant coach in Edmonton and in Dallas. Like, so what was that like? What was it like to be an assistant coach at that level, and especially like being back as an assistant coach with Edmonton, a team that you had once played for? How did that go?
That was that was very special. You know, going back there after my playing days, and two of my good friends that I won a Stanley Cup with were running the Edmonton Oilers then, and that's Kevin Lowe and Craig McTavish. And you know, it's not weird, but we had talked about that as when we were playing together, is that we wanted to do that after our playing career was over, and then it did happen, and it was very gratifying. I lived back in Edmonton. I was assistant coach, player development, so I got my hands in a lot of different areas of an organization. Like you do some coaching, you do some managing, you're hanging out with the general manager, you're doing some scouting, you're going and looking at prospects. So I think that all that really helped me in my job now as being a coach and a general manager.
Yeah, that's cool. So, um, are there like what's the biggest difference between coaching at that level, like at the NHL level, versus here at the WHL level?
You know what, coaching is it's not a lot different, and I've been asked that question before. Of, well, you know, the NHL guys don't do that. You know, they're just so much better than that. It isn't the case. They're all humans. Every NHL hockey player has went through the junior ranks, or they went through the college ranks. They've all went through the minor hockey ranks. So it's all the same stuff. You coach a little bit better or a little bit different, and it's not so much on the ice, but it's off the ice, because the kids in junior hockey they're just kids. You know, it's like that. Some kids are lucky enough to make the NHL at 18 years old, so you're dealing with a very young kid there. But usually in pro, off the ice, they're on their own. You don't have to take care of them. You just worry about them coming to the rink and being pros, and that's what we call it. Now you're pros, but a lot of those pros are very young now too, and they need the guidance of a coach and teammates and people in the organization.
So I talked with Josh Mazer on the weekend, and he mentioned that you are a very competitive coach. He took me back to the game, not last season, but the year before, where Prince Albert, actually the season where they won the league, but they came to town, and he said the Cougars, and I was at that game, so I agree. But he said that you guys gave them a half decent game, but even after losing that one, that you seemed a little bit bothered by that at the end of the game, and that Mazer said you're just really competitive about that, and something he really respected. But do you think
Yeah,
that type of energy really, you know, trickles onto the players and it gets kind of infectious?
yeah. Well, you know, I hope so. But that's the way I am. I'm very competitive. Winning and losing. That's how you get judged by. But it's how you play. Um, you can play to win and do everything to win and still lose. I'm fine with that. Um, when you're playing to win and you don't put the effort in, or you're not doing the stuff that can help you win, that's what I'm not fine with. And I think our players really understand that. You have to push them. You have to make guys accountable. We're all in the game. We all want the same thing, but you got to do the right things to win. And that's hopefully I push that.
Um, on that note, do you ever feel any pressure from the market that you're in to perform at a certain level? Because I know, like, I'm not sure how much it rubs off on the organization, but as a fan, I know in Prince George, there's certainly a longing for the team to do really well, and lots of people just take it for granted that the Cougars are just a losing team. Does that push the guys more to succeed, or what kind of an impact does that have?
Well, yeah, there's been some struggling years, and every team and every organization wants to win, and that's it. Kind of goes into the last question too, that you just don't win. You got to do the right things to win. You got to put the right foot in front of the other foot, and you got to walk before you run. And I think that in the last few years we haven't done that. And we got to make our team accountable. We've had some really good drafts. I think we have to be patient that the group that we have right now, that it's going to be very good, but we can't miss any steps in development. And for the people in Prince George and myself, we all want the same thing. Everybody wants the same thing. We can't miss any steps in developing and making trades and doing stuff with the organization right now. I think we got the right people in our organization to take those steps to the next level. I think we got the players that are coming. I think the players that have been here and have been around how we're running things right now respect it. And it's a winning atmosphere, but we haven't won yet.
So I want to talk a little bit more about just more about the draft and all that. So we know like Bob Simmons and this team like they do a really good job at gathering a list of prospects heading into the draft. But we talked to Bob a bit about that. But I want to ask you what does the draft day look like for you, and what kind of steps do you take leading up to the draft to ensure that you've got a good idea of on who the top guys are in the draft and who you want to pick and all that stuff.
Well, that's exactly what I talked about is surrounding yourself with the right people, and the right people is we got a group of scouts that do all the work. I do go out there, and this year was totally different because I didn't get to see a lot of the kids at all because the season got cut short, and not only did our season get cut short, but all of hockey got cut short. And usually I would get out and see some of these top players at the end of the year. But I'm very comfortable with the scouting staff and led by Bob Simmons, and we talk a lot. We talk every day. We talk about players. We go through everything. We try to do as much work as we can, to find out about these players. And sometimes it's hard with how young these kids are, and they got to go through their teenage years, trying to be a hockey player and be the best person they can, which is very hard for teenagers sometimes. But we feel like we've done a really good job in the scouting area, and we're improving all the time. And that's the bread and butter of an organization. You need a scout really good, and you need these players to develop. Once they get on in your organization, they got to get better and they got to be competitive. And when you do all that, then it gives you a chance to win. And I think we're just starting to get over that hump.
Yeah, as a head coach and general manager, how happy are you with all the young prospects that the Cougars have drafted, like high prospects in the last two drafts? I mean, I know as a fan that's certainly exciting, but as a head coach and GM, what's that like?
Well, it's very exciting. That's what a person's looking forward to. And I've talked about the patient part. We have to let these players develop. We got to get them in their teenage years. They got to have the mindset that they want to be hockey players. Um, saying that they want to be hockey players is easy, and we've all done that before. But you have to put in the work. You got to do the right things. You really do, and you can't miss any development parts. And it's up to me and the leader of the organization to give them the tools, give them everything they can to develop, and once we get them into Prince George, to teach them how to be good hockey players, good teammates, and that gives you a chance to win also.
So,
Yeah, go ahead, Tyler.
good, thanks. And so, obviously, like COVID-19, it changes the way the whole summer functions. So, just to paint a bit of a picture on like what an off season looks like for you in preparation for training camp upcoming, and then the next season. Like, what do you do in an off season to be ready for
Well,
camp?
we're doing as much as we can, right? We're just following the league. They guide us through all these rough waters. It's been a really tough time for everybody, and um, and I'm saying everybody. It's not just the Prince George Cougars. It's way above hockey. But we just try to give guidance to the players. We give them workout programs. They've done a very good job of trying to get their workouts in. Now they're skating in different areas now. What they're doing. So the players that I had a Zoom meeting with just the veteran players, last week, and you don't get the full. Uh, you can't see them all, but you get them on Zoom like we're doing right now, and everybody had a voice, and we all talked. It was like a meeting, and it was great to see again. Just because we haven't had hockey for so long, and just the interaction that they did have on the screen is very positive, and they feel like we got something good. We just need to get back playing whenever that is.
So, was it really exciting news for the organization and for the players when the tentative date for the restart was announced? Because I know I certainly that was that was really exciting because like there was no idea, and then they announced, oh yeah, tentatively this is when it's going to go. So, what was that like within the organization?
Well, it's very positive that they have a date, and obviously that date is fluid. There's nothing written in stone right now when exactly, because nobody knows what's going to happen. I think the positive part right now is the NHL. I think they've done a really good job. It's just great watching hockey right now. It gets you back into a little bit of normal of watching it, even though it's very not normal the way they're doing everything. And I think it's very creative, and it's whoever the NHL, all the upper management in the NHL have done a great job with the Players Association and really coming together as a big team to make this happen. And I think we need to take a page out of their book in a smaller way of being very creative and team like to get us back playing.
So I have to ask, because you brought up the play-ins and the playoffs, who do you have to win the cup this year? Just have to ask.
Honestly, I've been thinking about that a lot. Of I challenged myself in those areas a lot. Okay, who are you going to pick? I have no idea. I have no idea. There's so many good teams. I have my favorites teams. Obviously, the Edmonton Oilers are a team that I'd love to see win the Stanley Cup, and I think they have a great chance also. And then every team that joins this mini tournament of playoffs, it's the team, and I talked to our team about this. It's the team that's going to be prepared the most, that prepared themselves the most, not in front of the camera right now as they're playing. It's the team and the individuals that did the most on this pause.
Yeah, no, Noah and I definitely, we were talking about that. I think we spent like 3 hours yesterday on the phone talking about that, and preparation was a big one.
Yeah.
this is I don't know if you would I don't know, maybe you'd agree to this, but would this be the year for, like, I guess, a quote unquote surprise, considering everyone's had the same amount of time off? It seems like the format just sets it up for just a lot of different things to happen. I think it's going to be interesting to see which teams actually push their way through and make it that far to the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Any team that's in there, when you get, there's certain aspects of your game it's got to be right on, and you get momentum in different times of the year where you're doing a lot of the right things, but it's just not working for you as a team. You get into a series like this, and the number one player in any playoff series is your goaltender. When a goaltender gets hot, and it doesn't matter which team, if your goaltender gets really hot, you can win a Stanley Cup. Uh, I think the pressure is on the goaltenders in this short playoff or long playoff, whatever you want. There's best of 5 and then best of 7, so it's going to be a grind. But you get a goalie that really gets in a groove, he can really do some damage.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so kind of got a little bit off track there, but yeah, so you talked a bit about what your day looks like during the off season. What does it look like during the season? Like, what's the day today?
The day today, we practice at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I do, you do your prep for practice and stuff. We meet in the morning as coaches and go over practice. Usually around 9 o'clock in the morning. But I get into the office, and sometimes it's good in Prince George because of the time difference. You can talk to different GMs. Out in Alberta and Saskatchewan, Manitoba, do different stuff, do the GM stuff in the morning, practice in the afternoon. So it's a really full day, but it's a day that I really like when you get into a routine like that. Game days are a little bit different. You come in, you prepare in the morning. The guys go to school, they come in, we have a meeting, we do a couple meetings, and game days, I like to get out of the office in the afternoon. I still like to, clear your brain up a little bit, get ready for the game, kind of relax in the afternoon, and then come back around 3:34 to a game, and then start getting prepared for that.
And speaking of, like, day to day, what looks like day to day, not many, in the WHL at least, not many coaches and GMs hold the dual position. So on top of coaching, like, how does it look also dealing with the general manager side of things and just trying to find that perfect balance?
Yeah, it's I've done this for a lot of years. I did it, and so it doesn't seem abnormal to me at all. I like it. It keeps me on top of things, and I'll go back to to your staff. When you have a really good staff that you're comfortable with, like Jason Smith, he's been a head coach before. When I go away and I'm looking at different players and doing some scouting, I'm totally comfortable that everything's getting done. Back with practices and doing the right things for the hockey team. So it makes my job a lot easier having good people around me.
Yeah, so you kind of mentioned this a little bit in one of your answers, like that you do talk to other GMs fairly regularly. I know, for one, I never really thought about that aspect. How much contact are you guys actually in? Is that like you talk to most GMs like in a month, or how does that go?
Well, you're always, obviously there's friendship parts around the league that I have a lot of good friends around the league that I talk to them a lot more. You're just getting the feel of the league all the time. You talk to the league office, you talk to different GMs, and especially with the two conferences, right? It's totally different. Our division and our conference is totally different. It's like two different leagues. So I tend to, talk to the other side a little bit more, just getting the feel of the other side. And, you're always trying to better your team. So you're looking at different trade options, especially around the trade deadline. You're talking to a lot of people all the time, and those are long days.
With Bob Sim, we tapped in a little bit on the import draft, and we talked a bit about the success that you've had with Finnish players. How much do you know about Joni Karkainen, and what type of game is he gonna bring to Prince George?
Well, he's a 200-foot player, and that's what you do. You use people that you trust to, get the scouting report on these kids and different agents. But he's been a captain and every team he's played from a very young age. He's a very young guy still, but that's the type of player he is. He's a 200-foot player that can play both ends of the rink. He's got good size, and he's got all the intangibles to be a really good junior hockey player and hopefully a pro.
Yeah, so starting to run out of time here, but how important is it to have a strong and positive culture in the room? And what are you doing in terms of creating a healthy hockey culture here in Prince George to ensure that this is a good spot for each player to not only develop as a hockey player, but also as a human being?
Well, we do, we put a lot of thought into that, and you have to give them the guidance of, and I'm going back to people again. You got to put the right. We have good people in place for off ice workouts. We got people in place for mental health. There's a lot of different things that go into building a hockey team off the ice. If you're not a happy person off the ice, you're not going to excel on the ice. So, that's something that is very important to us. And you put in different guidelines and how you run your team. There's rules and stuff that the players have to abide by, and you put a team atmosphere into what you're trying to sell. That nobody's more important than the other guy, and then it's about getting better. And you don't get better in the games. That's the fun part. So the work comes way before the games. Work comes way before training camp. It comes in the summer. That's how you have to get better. That's how you have to improve. And that's something that we talk about all the time.
So is there any impact to getting certain role players for the room? Do you ever look for a certain kind of player to help bolster the culture that you're trying to build?
Absolutely. That's very important. And it's very important for players to understand that you have to play a role on the team. Different players have different roles, and no role is less important than your leading scorer per se, because everybody wants to be the leading scorer. Everybody wants ice time, and everybody wants to play the power play. And there's just not enough time, or it's junior hockey is very competitive. It's not just given to you; you have to earn it, and that's how you get better, and that's how you win hockey games. So the teams that can really have players buy into certain roles and be happy with it, because that's what makes you win, are the teams that have success.
Go ahead, Tyler, if you have a question there.
No, you covered my last question.
All right. Yeah, so I did actually have another one. With Riley Heidt coming in, obviously he's a super highly touted prospect. Where do you hope he'll be? Because I believe he's an underage player this year. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, what are your hopes for him in the next 2 seasons here to come into the team?
Well, yeah, he can't. We can AP him this year, so he can play some games. But our expectations are very high as as they are for Riley. He's a special player that he put his for special status. It would have been nice if he would have got it because he would have been able to play on our team this year, but he didn't get it. So it's all about development now for him, doing all the right things to get prepared to, to play as a 16-year-old. And Riley's got one of those hockey guys he's been an elite player, right up till now. He's very motivated to be the best player that he can be. He's in a great situation in Saskatoon. The Contacts, that's where he's going to play this year. They're going to have a really good team. We actually have another player, Bauer Demansky, that's going to be on that team too. So it's going to be a fun team for our scouts or any of us to go watch. And not only those players are on it, but they have a lot of high-end players from other WHL teams that are going to be on that team also. So he's a special player. We can't wait to. We just want to watch his development and give him all the help that we can. And when he ends up, not just him, but we think that we have quite a few young players that are going to be impact players for the Prince George Cougars for a lot of years.
Yeah, so in the last draft, not this year's, you had, I believe it was 3 first-rounders, or at least 2 that were high. Are those players, Dauhaniak and Zima, are they expected to make the jump into the team this year and get more regular minutes?
Well, I'm certainly hoping so. Like I said, we haven't seen them over the summer, and I talk about you got to summer really good. You got to do the right things in the summer to play in the WHL, and I expect these 2 that talking to them that they are putting in the work, they're doing all the right things, and hopefully they're impact players on our team this year.
Good. I don't know do you have any more questions there, Tyler?
No, I think I've asked all my questions.
All right. Yeah, I guess I've pretty much got them too. So, thanks for coming on, Mark. That was certainly great. We wish you all the best in the upcoming season and with the chaos that I'm sure is going to start up once there's actually a firm date for a restart of the season. So Tyler, I don't know if you want to go ahead and close this week, but
Yeah. All right. So again, thank you, Mark, for coming on, and thank you for listening in to the RinkMasters podcast. I hope you enjoyed this one, and just stay tuned for next week. We will be announcing our guest for episode 7 of the RinkMasters podcast. So until then, just stay tuned on our Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and we'll be posting on there, and we'll see you next week.